Marco?
Polo.
Marco? Marco?
Polo.
Let's talk about that. All right, so each player is going to have their own player board. They're going to start with 2 camels. They're going to have their houses over here. In the expansion, you'll start with a few extra houses. You'll also start with one of these guys on the map, and then you'll have 5 dice. Each turn, what you'll do is you'll roll your dice. If you have less than 15, you'll actually get either a coin or a camel for each point difference you are away from 15. You'll also start with coins based on turn order. And then as you collect these, so each person will also start with one of these, and as you collect them, you'll complete them over here, and at the end of the game, whoever has 7 is going to, or whoever's the most is going to score 7 points. You also put your resources over here, and any extra contracts that you get right there.
Here you'll see the main board. This is the area that you'll be traveling across. You'll start with your Marco Polo piece in Venice, and on your turn you can be able to move along these routes here. Depending on the route, you may have some sort of cost you need to pay. For example, traveling across here will cost me 3 camels. Traveling across here will cost me 7 coins. When you make it to a city, if you'd like to stop and end your turn there, you are welcome to collect this tile if you're the first one there, allowing you some sort of bonus, for example, 5 coins. And then you place one of your houses there. Moving forward, you have the action that this card provides. For example, this one here will allow me to place a die, and depending on the number on the die, I will collect so many different bales of silk. You also can travel to what are these little blue cities. So for traveling from here, I'm able to skip over this if I'd like, not placing a house, not collecting the tile, and paying 3 camels to move to Anzi. And here, by placing a house out, I have an income, so to speak, of each round 1 pepper and 3 gold. And you will continue to move across the board this way, opening up new spots for you to place things, placing your houses, and gaining income at the start of each turn.
Over here, you'll be able to see the action spaces. This is the majority of the game where you're going to be placing your dice. So there's a few different options. You can go to the favor of the con down here. There's only 4 spots available. You can only see 3 right now. But every die you place there has to be greater than or equal to the die placed previously. You'll get some benefits there by going there. These ones require you to place 1, 2, and 3 dice in order to get the benefits, and the lowest die you place there is going to net you those bonuses. This is how you'll be able to move across the map over here. It goes from obviously 1 all the way up to 6, and as you get up into the 6, it costs 18 to move that many spaces. You'll also need to place 2 dice there, and again, you take the lower of the 2. This is on top of, by the way, any movement bonus, any movement costs that you'll have to pay by going over any kind of water or desert or anything where you'll require extra coins or camel. And then over here is where you'll be able to get more contracts. You can either take 1 or 2. And if you do take 2, over here in the 5 and the 6, which you can't see is off camera, you can even get a benefit when you take one of those. Again, this is the majority of where you'll be placing dice. Throughout the game, if I place a 6 here, I'll be able to get 6 camel, but if somebody else wants to come in, they can place a die there, and it doesn't have to be greater than or equal to or anything, but they will have to pay the coins associated with the amount of pips on their die that they're placing there. And then you can only place your color on that spot once. So having any black die, which is not a color in the game, but you can acquire black dice by trading in camels, you'll actually be able to go to multiple spots multiple different times. So that's the board there, and those are the rules.
Hey guys, I'm Ben.
And I'm Tommy.
And we are looking at... Do you want to grab the box? We're so unprofessional.
We are so unprofessional.
Well, in case you haven't guessed it from our intro, we're talking Marco Polo.
Well, in case you haven't guessed it from the intro and the rules explanation.
Yes,
we're talking Marco Polo.
Now you should definitely know what we're talking about.
They're in Asia. That's why they're upside down. Actually, that's the southern
other side of the hemisphere.
The southern hemisphere.
You can turn it this way, like when you equate the
there we go.
meridian.
Yeah. Now, Marco Polo. How was that?
I'll just throw the box.
I'd rather not. So we're talking about Marco Polo, and actually, we're going to throw in the expansion with this.
Yes, we'll include the expansion in this conversation.
Merchants of Venice, I believe it's what it's called.
I believe so.
If I'm wrong, I'll edit it.
That's the magic of movies.
So Marco Polo, what did you think, Ben? So, I've played this a couple times before. Yeah, you played this a number of times.
I'm jumping on this review having only played the game once. And it is a game that has a lot of acclaim, right? Dice Tower is always fawning over it.
Well, it's in the top 100. I think it's like 38
it's quite high in the
like
top 100. It has got massive spells where it was out of print and hard to find.
Yeah.
Definitely a game that people have clamored about. And it for good reason.
Sure.
I'll say that. It is a really slick game. I've played a couple different worker placement dice games, and this is probably the best out of all of them. The reason being is I feel like the dice aren't like...
working against you.
Yeah. It's not necessarily like some giant puzzle that, you feel like you're screwed over because you rolled bad that turn.
You took that. Shoot, now I can't do anything this turn.
Yeah, no. And like on the back of the player aid, it gives you the option of spending camels to flip dice, reroll dice.
Right.
Never once did I feel the need to do that.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. Like I
did it once.
I think maybe, you did it once.
I didn't reroll, but I flipped one. I added one to one of my dice.
Which maybe is circumstantial, but it's not like those games where it's like, I need to have this combination of dice. Without this, I can't do what I want to do.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of flexibility within what you can do with the dice.
Well, I think that's because the spaces that you go to don't require you to have, matching numbers. You don't need a 2 and a 3 to come here, or you don't need 2 6s.
Yeah.
You just take the lower of the two, which can be difficult, so you might not always be getting, 4 gold.
Mm-hmm. No, and the dice placement, it didn't feel like worker placement, whereas these other Alien Frontiers, Kingsburg,
sure,
it feels more like a worker placement mechanic. Here it's almost like a resource management type thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead. So that was interesting. But it was good. There's a lot of resources, a lot of flexibility with the dice, but there's still those spots where you're trying to beat people to.
My plays of this get subsequently more and more enjoyable for me.
Okay, that's good. That's the type of game you want, right?
Right, and I think that comes with this is really kind of a min-maxing game. Not one that you would initially think is one, but you've got do I use these camels to finish this contract, or do I use these camels to finish a route? And that difference there can really make or break.
And then the way you go about getting the camels, do I just throw the die down on the camel spot and just cash in bigger for camels, or can I squeak away getting 2 camels?
Right.
By going here and also getting a resource, which only towards the like. There's a lot of that. Which option is better? Because there are so many options that you can do because the dice are so free flowing as far as where you can place and what you can use them for.
Right. Agreed. Now, one of the things that you did not pay too much attention to was the Merchants of Venice board.
Yes.
Whereas I paid a little bit more attention to it throughout the game, which I think benefited me quite a bit. Not a huge amount, but I did definitely reap some rewards from it.
There were benefits that you gained from doing so.
But something that neither of us used are these companions, which you get to use these companions throughout the entirety of the game. I'm sorry, the round, that you acquire them, and you get a bonus from getting them. You don't just you go there, you get either a gold, a pepper, or a silk, and then you also get to take one of these for that round.
Yeah, and a lot of them look pretty cool.
Well, a lot of them are great.
They seem to do a lot of cool.
Pay 2 coins and move 1 spot. That's phenomenal.
They're almost in the realm of minor player powers that you start with. Kind of. It's like, here's your giant player power. You can do this super cool thing.
Right.
Here's a smaller player power.
But it's harder to accomplish. It's harder to get those because
and make them work for you without wasting the turn. Because if you're going to use that die, because dice are limited, you have very few dice.
And that's probably my one quarrel with adding these new expansions. Now, if you thought the game was tight before, you don't need to have these. You don't need to have the Merchants of Venice and the the companions. You don't have to play with them if they're in the game. You don't have to use them. You don't have to go get them.
Ignore them entirely.
Right. But those are things that you will be foregoing. There are points to be had. There are, special bonuses that you'll get on each turn that you can get, and you're going to be passing those up.
Yeah, it's so. I have mixed feelings on a lot of expansions because I'm the type of guy who's a completionist. I want to go out,
absolutely,
acquire the expansions right from the get-go. It's like, if this expansion makes the game better,
I want it.
Why am I playing without it?
Right.
Throw it in there. Let's get it going. Let's make this game as good as it can be. This expansion isn't that. This expansion is, I've become accustomed to the game. I've seen what there is to see.
I need new.
I want to explore more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did not benefit from this expansion my first play. I will barely benefit from it the next play. Because there is so much to do with your dice and so much you want to do.
That you don't want to spend them on things that
are going to be potentially detractive or superfluous, or that you're going to have to work a new strategy around.
Right.
So it's definitely one of those expansions that will help an old game feel new again.
Agreed.
Rather than make a good game better.
Agreed. I enjoyed the use of it for what it did for me in the game, but I can see that this could possibly not ever benefit you. Now, there are some really good things when you get further up into Venice and you get some of the other benefits.
Taking a lot of actions.
It's taking a lot of actions, especially when you have those cards that you need to complete. Or I guess you don't need to.
You feel like you need to complete
Well, it's a good chunk of points.
It is, yes.
You scored 24, I scored 18. That's a lot of points in the game.
Close to half my score.
Was it really? Yeah, I guess so.
Close.
Yeah. A little bit less.
A third,
Not
quite a third.
Maybe, yeah.
So it's sort of been a half and a third. You mathematicians out there.
One of the things that I really, really enjoy about this game is the choices.
Yeah.
If you want a game with choices, I think this is probably one of the best.
Yeah.
Do I go this route, which is going to help me achieve my cards faster, but I'm not going to get these benefits right away?
Yeah.
Or do I go this route and I start acquiring a lot of, income and try to go a little bit slower and hope that I can finish it up at the end of the game?
Yeah. I always, going into looking at this game as I watched reviews and some people's opinions and stuff, I thought it was a light to midweight Euro. Because I was like, oh, dice placement, that's fairly easy. You roll the dice, you place them.
Sure.
There's only so much you can do on your turn. You have basically two puzzles in this game, contracts and traveling on the map. And that's what I thought going into this. But it is definitely a heavier game than I was led to believe by other reviewers and whatnot. Because there's a lot that you want and feel like you need to do. And like you said, it's very min-maxy.
Yeah.
And a player who is accustomed to doing that sort of math and calculations and timing will blow someone out of the water that is just merely, learning those things.
There's a lot to take into consideration on your turn.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a timing aspect, especially since, if I go to a place, you can still go to it, but now you're going to have to pay.
And that's very pricey.
It can be very pricey, especially, if you want 6 camels, you're going to have to pay 6 coins now to go.
On top of spending your 6 die.
Yeah, so is that the first action that you take?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you instead make sure that you can lock down this specific spot or something, It's got a lot of tough choices to make, and I agree. I don't think it's as light as some people say it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'd be hesitant to introduce this to newer gamers.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
It doesn't have the steep learning curve that other games do that more heavy gamers will play. But the options and the different things that take into consideration make it so.
Yeah, I suppose the gameplay isn't really that hard. It's like, look, you place a die here, you get this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that somebody could really be floored and just not have any clue what to do when it comes to their turn. Just because, there's a lot of choices, not just in like, what do I do right now, but like,
you're planning
what do I do ever?
Like advance, yeah.
There's 4 choices over here, there's this here, there's that, especially you add in this. You start getting into the game and you have all these extra cities that open up to you. It's a rough game. That being said, how did you enjoy the game?
First, let me address the elephant in the room.
Elephant.
That giant elephant is called unique player powers.
Ah.
What the game is
Why have we not talked
known
about
for.
this?
So, that is the big thing in this game. Every player has not only a unique power, but game-breaking power.
Yes.
And
so much so that it's like yours is overpowered.
Yeah, that's how Tom described it.
How am I supposed to win?
It's you look at someone else, you're like, whoa, that's not fair. Look at yours.
Yeah.
But every player could say the same thing about yours.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You feel cool, you feel unique as you have something that no one else has, and you have that advantage. But it's like a double-edged sword because as you're watching everyone else, you're like, crap, they get to... that's...
Yeah.
But I have this. But it's cool, but at the same time, it sucks.
You got a camel every turn.
I did.
Which I was just like, oh man, it's not huge.
No.
But you also got to move 2 people around, so you could split your guys up and go wherever you wanted.
And the thing is I had to do that if I wanted to complete my 2 gold cards like I did.
Right. Mine, on the other hand, I had these cards that I could play pretty much whenever I wanted.
Gave you ridiculous amounts of cool things.
They did. They gave me some really cool things, and I really liked them. But at the same time, there are stuff in here. There's one, your dice can be whatever you want them to be.
Yeah, that's
amazing, because you come to the favor of the con over here, you always place a 6 there, because then you're forcing other people to, and it's not that you need to place a 6,
the different actions you have from the cities on the board, you're taking full advantage of those.
Absolutely.
But it all comes with a sacrifice, because everyone else has something equally cool or amazing.
Yes.
And that leads me to my biggest concern about the game. Like I said, I played this once, so take this with a grain of salt. But there's a lot of random setup. The cards come out randomly. Definitely. The different bonus tiles from the cities come out randomly.
There is a beginner game
where things are
set, and you also have specific player powers.
Because I felt like with my power, which allowed me to have 2 people, I needed to take full advantage of the map. I needed to try and accomplish
that's fair
as many of my secret goal locations as possible, because that was what I was geared towards. Mm-hmm. And the 2 that I took were going to score the most points. Going through those was very difficult. I had to pay lots of money, lots of camels. I was able to do it. Your card that you got, on the other hand, gave you the option of placing 1 card down and getting a city just out of the blue, which allowed you to score almost as many points through your goals, where you didn't have to travel nearly as much on the map. And your cities that were on your paths set you up to score a lot more points than mine did. You got into Beijing, which gave you an extra 10 points because you were up there. You got the 1 tile that gave you 3 points every turn. You got that the first round because those were up there in your city paths.
Right.
Mine weren't. I felt like I was kind of roped into my strategy because of my character that I chose. And then by following that, the card setup and the tiles and stuff didn't favor me quite as well as they favored you.
And you really don't like it when you feel like your strategy is pulling you towards a specific direction.
Yeah. And could you imagine if I had that tile that gave me 3 points at the start of every round? Had I had that down on my side, that would have been so cool. I would have loved to have had that, but rather I had a tile that gave me 2 resources of different types.
Yeah, and I think that...
So my whole for you, that's just my thing. There's so much random setup, so much random roles and stuff to take into account and objectives that some games you might have be dealt a tougher hand.
Now, to be fair, you were dealt 4 roll cards. You could have picked any of the other ones.
Yes.
To be fair.
But there would have been less points.
You would have had a different strategy. It would have been an entirely different game, and I think that's what
I needed to maximize my points there because I'd chosen my role that let me move 2 people.
Right. No, I'm saying you could have gotten a different role.
But I chose my role before I got my routes.
Whatever. There is a lot of random setup, and it makes for a different game every time.
I would not have it any other way. If this had a stagnant board, snooze fest. Like, you'd play it a couple times, you'd know which way to go, what to do.
Right.
But the fact that it's random, it creates a new puzzle each game, which is great. But because that new puzzle comes out differently, it may favor some players and their abilities over others.
I agree. I think that's one of the things I love about this game is trying to figure out your puzzle.
Yeah.
This was actually something that was brought up in the side discussion. If you have not already looked at that, go check it out.
I thought it was a review
the debate
until Tommy posted it, and all of a sudden it became a debate. Had it been a debate, I would have gotten a list of points, rebuttals. I did not go going into that. It was going to be a freaking debate.
Regardless, it's a puzzle. And figuring out your specific puzzle each game is what I like about this game, and also, coincidentally, what I like about Scythe. And it is, I think it's exponentially so here because you've got your player, you've got the
puzzle is much more obvious in a game like Scythe, where it's abstracted out into spaces on a board and potential income and different upgrades on. Like, this is very straightforward. You know where to go, you know what you have to turn in, you know what you can do.
Sure.
All from the get-go.
Yeah. So I really love this game. I really do.
It's a good game.
I wanted to get this game, but it was so hard for me to find, and
like I said, out of print for
Yeah, somebody piffed it to me. If you're not sure what a piff is, you should check out the thread on BGG.
Like Piff the Magic Dragon?
Kind of, yeah. More like pay it forward first. But thank you to him. I really enjoy the game. After I got it, I actually went out and bought Merchants of Venus because I had already... Venice.
Merchants of Venus.
That's a much different
game. It's just
game.
inspired him to be trade in space. He's like, I can trade the Mediterranean, I can trade in space.
Well, there's also Venus, the Venus de Milo, and
yeah, sure, okay.
Sure. Anyway, so I had played the game before, and I went out and got it, and I actually really do enjoy this aspect of the board. It adds more options. It makes the game a lot more tighter. It's like, do I use my dice over here?
Yeah.
I don't really want anything over here, so I guess I'll come over here. There's a lot of really good choices, and this makes the game, I think, a little bit better.
But by no means necessary.
Absolutely
If
not.
you're tight on money, hang tight, play the game some more.
If anything, I would get it for the extra city cards, the extra roll cards, the extra income tiles.
Which there is a mini expansion, which is just like new player characters.
Yeah.
Which I would seek out first if.
Yeah, there's quite a few expansions for this, which I need to get my hands on. Well, that's Marco Polo, the Voyages of.
In that order.
Yes. If you like the game, or if you like our review, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you didn't, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe anyway, because we really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And go check out our other videos, especially our side debate.
Debate.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye.